We're about to do something that's important. I know to myself, it's important to hip hop. It's important to Rosenberg because you've already done a very extensive podcast, Juan Epstein podcast, who is the brother here, Diamond D. Give it up for him.
Diamond D. Yo, what's up? What's up? Tri-State.
While we have your attention, he has some new material that's going to be touching down when?
September 30th.
And you want to run through the track list and stuff? I think you'll make it sound like something better than me.
I mean, listen, Pharrell, Talib, Elzad, Skyzoo, Freddie Fox, Pete Rock, Farside, Scram Jones, Knots, Alchemist, my man Kev Brown's on here, Master Ace, Guilty Simpson, Razzcast. You got one
high tech.
High tech. You did one joint here produced by Scratch.
That's right, my dude, the Superman joint.
Everything else is produced by Diamond D.
Yes, sir.
So this joint comes out at the end of September.
That's right, September 30th.
Wait, but understand right now on iTunes, I just went to check because I want to make sure that
you can pre-order it and all that.
You can pre-order, and I just bought the Pete Rock joint.
Okay.
You can cop that already.
You can buy it right now.
So for Ebro, let's just do a quick history lesson for the kids who may not understand. What would you say, Ebro, was your first experience with this dude's music?
Stunts, Buns, and Hip Hop. Diamond D and Psychotic Neurotics.
That's right.
I mean, that's what it was supposed to be.
That's what it was.
That's what was supposed to happen. What are you talking to me about?
Oh, actually, hold on, Ebro. Am I on?
Yeah, go ahead, my G.
Let me just give the kids a little flavor if they don't know what we're talking about real quick. This might be.
And notice he said a little flavor. He did that on purpose and make it feel.
Yeah. Come on, to the west side. Come on, to the east side. Come on, to the north side.
Fat Joe in the house. You might know that one. You heard that Fat Joe shout out. You heard that.
You might know this. So in the time when I was coming up on hip hop,
it doesn't matter if it's yours.
The name Diamond D was almost like a passcode. Like if you were a real hip hop head,
Diamond D,
and someone said Diamond D, you were like, oh, we're having a conversation? Because the second someone said they like Diamond D or Showbiz and AG, you were like, oh, okay, you're a real hip hop head.
Well, talk about that, D, because you're from the Bronx,
right?
What section?
South Bronx, Morrisania.
Okay, and I always talk about how in hip hop now the barriers to entry, there are none.
Right.
Anybody could jump in anyway, anytime. YouTube, download some loops, Fruity Loops, Logic, whatever it is you're using. Download some drums and record yourself, and now all of a sudden you're a rapper.
Right.
It wasn't always like that.
Not at all.
Not at all. Matter of fact, talk about what was happening in your house that got you into the music, that then got you into collecting music, that then got you into creating.
Right. All right. Well, I can say it started with growing up around my uncle. He was a DJ, like just more or less like disco records. So that's where my first love came from for the music. Growing up in the South Bronx, I was able to go outside to the parks and actually see guys like Theodore, Flash, Bam By that Bronx River Center. So as a child, I was able to go out there, stand outside the roads and just watched it. And what intrigued me was basically the break beats. Like, where were they finding these little 5 or 6 second drum loops on these records I never heard? So that was my initial pull into it.
And was it because they were taking, a record that you had already heard, but then
some I never heard,
and some you never heard, but replaying a section and then recreating a whole other vibe?
Right, exactly. It's like what Flash he calls it the carousel theory or the quick mix theory, where you just extend the break part, the best part of the song, so to say. Like with Good Times, the whole song is dope, but hip hop, we focused in right on that little middle part where the breakdown with the bass and the drums,
right? On James Brown Funky Drummer, when he gives it to the drummer and they just give you drums.
Exactly. So that was just the whole basis. That was the part of the jam where everything just went to another level.
Almost to right now with the EDM thing, where they have the drop,
right,
where the music drops out, right, and the party gets crazy.
That's right. That's right. The same thing. So boom.
So you witnessed this in the park.
Right.
Your uncle's got the music, and then what happens?
All right, so then I become a DJ. Fast forward to I got out of high school. I was able to meet Jazzy J. Around this time in the Bronx, Jay was he was the man in the Bronx. He had just did the first 2 or 3 singles for Def Jam Records. He was doing the Beat Street thing. He had the Masters of Ceremony. He had a song called Sexy and Cracked Out. So he took me under his wing, and I was in a group called the Ultimate Force. Me and Master Rob, we put out a song called I'm Not Playing, made a little noise locally, and then everything just kind of just snowballed from there.
Did you meet like Russell and Rick Rubin and those guys all the way back then?
I didn't meet Russell, but I met Rick when he used to hang out at Dance Interior.
Just from being around the way?
Well,
like he was the guy at the club?
Rick and Jay were cool. If you look at the first Def Jam imprint, it says Party Time, and then it has a Def Jam imprint. But Jay produced that. He produced It's Yours. He produced I Need a Beat for LL Cool J. He produced the My Name is Russell Rush, and I came to rock the cold rock stuff. He did that shit. So Jazzy J, he's the main reason why Def Jam Records actually broke. And then after that, Def Jam went on to do what it did. But that was the Jazzy J and Rick Rubin connection.
And not a lot of people knew, and I got to be honest, I did not realize until we did our recent Juan Epstein podcast with Russell that It's Yours was Def Jam, but it was pre-Def Jam.
Yes.
It was pre-Russell. It was Rick Rubin's Def Jam.
It was Party Time, and Def Jam was a small imprint.
Right.
And Tila Rock, that was Special K's younger brother from the Treacherous 3.
And then Russell loved the brand Def Jam, so when he linked up with Rick Rubin, he was like, he got involved, but they kept the name. They were like, let's just go with this Def Jam thing.
Right.
And that's a very interesting piece to the story. So you start making beats. You started, and you would you say that you founded DITC?
No, it was founded by me and Showbiz together.
And it was a collective of guys that you both knew.
Well, we all lived in the same neighborhood. Me, him, Lord Finesse was in the same projects, Forest Projects. Fat Joe was there. AG was about 10 minutes away in Patterson Projects. You know what I mean? So Big L was right in Harlem. So, we all just came together like about 91, 92.
Besides the stuff you did with DITC, what would you say is your most notable credit outside of your album and the Show and AG work?
Probably the score for the Fugees.
How's that? How was that check? How were those checks still good?
Those checks, they were nice, but then we had a sample issue.
So you had to pay a little bit.
Yeah, well, I didn't pay, but Sony had to pay a little bit.
And that was when, the mid-90s was when they was coming to collect.
Oh, yeah, they wasn't playing.
Yeah, because
that's how 9 million copies?
Man.
Well, hip-hop had gotten so big, right? And money was moving. Where they was like, oh, wait.
Hold on now.
Right.
And in the 90s, a lot of the old school, musicians, there was a long period there where they did not respect the sampling.
That's not at all.
Sampling was a big argument. It still is in a lot of circles.
That's right.
Where they look at sampling as straight jackery, straight thievery.
That's right.
Where we was like, hold up now. We're taking a small section and recreating a whole other thing. Right. Sometimes new melodies, new words, adding drums, adding a flute, doing whatever it is you're gonna do. Jerry Wonder's a good friend of mine. I'm sure you know Jerry Wonder.
No doubt, on the bass.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time because nowadays, one of the reasons I think that one of my theories that people look at hip hop today and they're like, it's not like the 90s. Well, 90s hip hop had a lot of samples.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so now you find hard pressed to even use a sample on any of the records that come out right now because people don't want to have to pay those fees.
That's right.
Did people feel that Puff and some of the other people blew up the spot for sampling by completely lifting records and replaying them?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, I'm
not trying to throw Puff under the bus.
No. It's not Puff's fault that he took the blueprint of something that was already in place and made a gazillion dollars.
Right.
Because Rapper's Delight was a straight song. They just jumped on a song that was already there.
They just jumped on. Yep.
The song already existed. That wasn't even a loop. That was just like
a song. Let's just it's like but Ghostface does. Let's just rap on a song.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So what Puff did, I think it just like all the stars aligned where Puff got the biggest checks out of something that was already there, and he took mainstream disco records.
Right. You're talking about David Bowie and all these records.
M2 Diana Ross. I mean,
right. And he cleared them.
Right.
You know, but a lot of the older artists, their thing could be, well, let's say on Juicy Fruit, if M2 has writer's credit, but the bass player he doesn't, the drummer he doesn't. So if I sample the song, all I gotta do is clear with M2.
And if he wrote it, that's it.
He gets the money. The musicians don't get any.
And the musicians is at the RIAA and whoever else like, yo, where's mine? Like, I played on it.
It was a big deal, Ebro, with Clyde Stubblefield. He's the drummer for Funky Drummer. But if you look on Funky Drummer, it's only going to say James Brown writer's credit. Even though when people sample Funky Drummer, they sample the drums. You don't hear no bass, no guitar. You don't even hear James. You hear that kick in the snare.
That's actually a really interesting thing in general, right? Like, I wonder, and you probably know more about this than I do, how the JBs, they're just one example, but all the musicians who James Brown worked with, people just like, I love James Brown. It's like, James Brown wrote and did a lot, and I'm sure orchestrated, but these musicians, endless musicians, who are incredibly talented,
but look,
created all this
stuff. It still happens today. It still happens right now as we're having this conversation. Some kid came up with an idea and some drums. Somebody that already is on and popping was like, yo, let me tighten that up a little bit. Bing, boom, bop, bow.
Right. Add a couple of keys on it or whatever.
You know what I'm saying? Ooh, ee, ah, ooh. And then boom, I produced it. Right, and then
I'll give you a little check. You get your little check.
You get your little check because you ain't, you on the come up, so you get your little check, and that's part of paying your dues, which I'm gonna get back to in a minute.
Okay,
and then maybe you get an opportunity. We was interviewing A-Track, right? Who introduced Kanye to some sounds that later became Stronger and some other things that were produced by Kanye West. But it was A-Track that might have sparked that catalyst that got Kanye into that zone, right? Or even you talk about D-Dot when Benjamin supposedly Kanye had something to do with that, or was it Benjamin's?
One of those records.
One of those
records
a lot of that Kanye was in there for.
Okay,
and Kanye didn't get a check on that. Or Pharrell, who did
Rump Shaker.
Teddy Riley got the credit for it, and later on Pharrell went on. You know, it happens all the time.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you had to pay, and the reason I brought up barriers to entry to start this conversation, because back then you couldn't just download.
Right.
So you had pre-internet, you had to dig in the crates to go find the records if you wanted to become a producer, because the producers that were on might not necessarily tell you where to go find them.
Exactly.
So how did you go about doing that?
Me and Showbiz, we would ride around. We had a couple of spots that we would go to. You know what I mean? But yeah, back then it was a lot of competition. And there was a lot of camaraderie too.
So people would look out for each other.
Yeah, just people you would look up to. You know what I mean? Like, I was a big Tribe Called Quest fan. You know what I mean? So like if Q-Tip asked me anything, it was nothing for me to tell him or whatever. But although
it's funny, that's a funny story too. That if you ever listen to our Juan Epstein podcast with Pete Rock. If you wonder on the end of Jazz by Tribe why they say Pete Rock for the beat, you don't stop. Well, Pete gave them that record, but it doesn't say produced by Pete Rock. It just says produced by a Tribe Called Quest.
And because it was a sample.
But but Pete was like, here's the record. You have this record. And they did it. And it was a shout out.
Right. Well, if I give you the record, but I don't come into the studio to do no programming, I can't say I produced it.
Right. Your shout out's all you really could get.
Well, I mean,
did you have situations like that for you too?
Gotta give a shout to the Large Professor.
Right. Gotta give a shout to the Large Professor.
He gave me that record for That's That Shit.
Yeah. And he got a shout out. But it all comes around.
Right.
Full circle. Right. Everyone ends up getting their look.
Right.
I remember thinking at the time it was so random when, because I didn't know all the relationships when him and when Diamond and Brand Nubian popped up on Show Business on Tribe's album.
Talk about it.
And so y'all just had a friend. Was that just that? That was it? Y'all just had camaraderie?
Yeah, the Nubians. They was buzzing in the streets, and Q-Tip invited them down, and I was down there playing beats for Q-Tip for his album actually. And Pooh didn't show up. This is like when it was first Friction. So Pooh didn't show up. Tip knew I had an album coming out, so he said, "Yo, D, you want to jump on this?" And I was like, "Boom, let's do it."
Okay, for example, you produce Punks Jump Up, correct?
Correct.
That's gotten sampled a lot of times.
That's right.
Do you have a writer's credit on that song?
I do have writer's credit on that song.
So you'll still get a piece when people sample Sadat's voice from
Correct.
Punks Jump Up. You still
Correct.
get a piece also.
Correct, because it's part of the composition.
Got it. That's good because
Right.
Sadat's voice
Yeah.
is heavily sampled.
Right. It's amazing.
If us three formed a band, Ebro on drums, you on bass,
I get the drums?
I'm on guitar.
I get the drums?
Somebody samples the drums. They don't sample our parts, but we're still gonna eat because we
Everyone-
have writers credit.
I know we're talking to Diamond D. There's a lot of classic things talking about, but you see how you threw me on the drums right
No,
away?
you living right
That
now.
means something. All right? You
You're
understand me?
living-
When they
you're
throw you on the drums, they're like, yo, get the drums. That means they trust you.
A lot of those Parliament Funkadelic records, George Clinton and Bootsy Collins, they mainly had the publishing, but I mean, the musicians, they don't eat off of sampling. You know what I mean?
And that's why, it's a big thing still today, the sampling thing. And if you wonder why you can't get that dirt, that those dirty drums and those things ain't happening in hip hop, a lot of it has to do with the sampling and the fact that the amount of money that needs to be paid out to capture that feeling that hip hop had in the 90s.
Right.
It costs a lot of money to the people who created the original.
And also, to what you were saying earlier, the easy entrance. When cats get a program in which they're like, oh, this has drums on it. This drum sounds good. I'm going to use this. And they just put it in there.
Right.
They don't realize
Factory
necessarily.
settings.
They think factory settings all there is. They may not know there's better drums you could get.
Yes.
And you might be able to sneak away with some. Like, isn't it possible to dig up a rare drum and filter it and get away with taking that drum and no one knows?
Of course.
But it might sound better. They just don't know or have the record collection to dig through to find I'm going to take a snare from here, I'm going to take a kick from here, and build their own drum
You could get
kit.
impeached the president. You
Right.
could get it. There's a way to chop impeach the
Oh,
president.
of course. There are people who put stuff all the time. That one could be a tough one.
Now, you could chop it. I've seen it done, and people slide by.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen.
Aaron Fuchs is right on them too.
You're
right?
You're in the A, right?
Yeah, back and forth, the A in Jersey.
So, Atlanta how long have you been in Atlanta? Long time, right?
About 5 years.
It's a thriving hip hop scene in Atlanta. Are you able to take any of it in and check? Do you ever pop into random shows in Atlanta and see what's going
Yeah,
on?
I pop in. That's how I met my dude over here, Big Rec. He was down there killing shit down there in Atlanta, doing the shows and stuff. But for my kind of hip hop, this is where I need to be. Up here.
And speak to when you say my kind of hip hop. Say what you say.
it's sample based.
Okay.
It's northern. I'm a New Yorker, and the music reflects that.
And you want the big drums and you want the lyrics.
That's right. I want everything. The same thing that was around. What these people call the classic era. That's what inspires me.
What markets most appreciate that kind of music? Besides New York, we know New York has love. We know LA has love.
Right.
A lot of love.
The Bay Area still has love.
I'm sure you get a lot of love in the
Bay Area, Midwest, Dallas. You know what I mean? It's still here. Of course, it's more. It pops more over in Europe for whatever reason. But it is what it is, man.
So, and let's jump to the West Coast, Alcoholics.
That's right.
How did the
Wow.
How did the relationship between Diamond D and King T? Was that the original connection? How did that happen?
The original connection was Loud Records had reached out to me around that time because I had just did Didex Wild Cowboys album, and they were like, "Yo, the Licks are interested in you," and they came out to my place in the Bronx. I played them a couple of joints, and it happened. Also, the Licks knew that I had done some work with House of Pain, so they knew that I was open to working with West Coast acts. You know what I mean? I was one of the first East Coast producers to work with West Coast groups, House of Pain, the Licks.
Well, House of Pain is what, Boston, right?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Everlast was
Everlast is California.
Oh, he's from
He
California.
just wore that Celtics jersey.
Oh, I was like, no, they're from Boston.
because he's Irish.
Got it.
Him, House of Pain, the Licks, Exhibit, Far Side, Cypress Hills.
Yeah.
I was working with all of those groups in the mid '90s.
And that was just based on the fact that you wanted to expand.
Exactly, and I respected all of their crafts too. You know what I mean?
So talk to us a little bit about this album right here. What people can get from this new Diamond D album? Because I see people every day who go yo, everything's about, this new-ish, and what happened to the classics? And I say to them, I go, well, your favorite artists are still making great music.
Songs of Mischief was just at BB King's the other day. Pharcyde was just in town. They just did a tour.
Right.
So a lot going on.
So your favorite producer, Diamond D, is still making great new music.
No doubt.
Tell them a little bit about this album.
This album right here, it's 3 years in the making. It's that classic boom bap shit. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to explain it, but
that's what it is.
That's just what it is. And Pete just ran down the list. Pharrell, Monch, Talib, Skyzoo, Elzhi, Freddie Fox, Fat Joe. I got Rhapsody on there. That's Ninth Wonder's artist. So it's just something to check out. If you like that classic real boom bap sound, this is it right here, baby.
I think I saw a picture at some point recently of you backstage at Kanye's show in Atlanta. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What kind of love do you get when you run into a Kanye West, someone like that?
Oh, Kanye, yeah, he showed me mad love. You know what I mean? And he said in a at least 1 or 2 interviews that people like myself and Pete Rock and Premier, we inspired him when he was on the come up. But definitely, when he heard I was outside, he said, "Yo, sit him in the back."
Oh, he just heard you were there? Hey, old man, stop making it play over the...
I'm trying to play the song.
Plug it in there. There you go. I just threw it to you. That's how you play it. You want to play the song?
Yeah, I want to play the song with Pete Rock as we get out of here, my G.
All right, so let's introduce this song right here. And yes, if you're wondering where cats like Kanye, learned how to do this and studied this craft, and one of the reasons that I'm as invested in hip hop as I am is because of the music that this man made right here. So let's play this record. This is you and Pete Rock.
Only way to go, me and Pete Rock.
Hold on. I'm downloading it right now. We don't have a CD player. Hang on.
So you can get this on iTunes. You can find it wherever. The album's out the end of September.
Right.
It's called The Dime Piece, correct?
The Dime Piece, yeah. It's going to be available on vinyl also for all you vinyl heads.
I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you have any promotional material left from your original album?
Chairman Mao asked me that 2 days ago.
Wow.
He's looking for those Sally Got a One-Track Mind edible panties.
Wow.
You made that?
No, well,
Mercury
Records,
made that?
made it. Mercury
And he remembered that?
Yeah. I saved 1 box. That's it.
What about, are there any t-shirts from the album?
Not around. If you have them, you have them.
But there were t-shirts?
Yeah, they were, definitely.
With what, the album cover on it?
Yeah, it had Stunts Plus and Hip Hop.
Oh.
It had my logo on the front. I need to make some. I need to get some more of those classic shirts made up. Get them up on the website.
That would be amazing, man. Yeah. I just want to find an original. The other day I was looking up vintage rap shirts.
Right.
A shirt like that Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop shirt would probably go for the range like $300. That's my guess. Is one of those. Which I would.
If you can get one of the original pressings.
Woo! I would die for that. You want to play this?
Yeah, I think I got it together. I figured it out.
All right, the old man has figured it out. His name is the legendary Diamond D. All right, the album's called The Dime Piece. It's out end of September. Thank you, Diamond, for coming through.
No doubt. Thanks for having me.
Yo, let's play this joint with Pete Rock. All right, Only Way to Go.
Nothing in the message, so I just keep it moving. Saying to myself, how we let these
First
fools
cash,
in.
first class, how we
Come
do.
out with the funk that's moving. When Pete Rock and Diamond D together, y'all
Prime brass,
lose.
prime ass, how we move. Yeah, it's only right to want the best out of life.
So funky.